Okay, so one last way to install WordPress into a control panel website or into the cPanel area of your website. Depending on how your host has everything set up, you may or may not have those quick start options, the Fantastico Deluxe options that I talked about in other videos, so you will need to do this by hand. What I suggest doing is start out by going to wordpress.org, and you'll see on their homepage they've always got download the latest version. Right now the current version is 3.8.1. I could click on that and go to the site here. I've already downloaded this just to kind of save a little bit of time, but I want to show you where that's at. Again, wordpress.org. Don't confuse that with the .com, where that's actually free blogs for people to use, not to actually install on their server. So again, I've downloaded that. I've got that on my desktop here. First thing you need to do is actually upload that to your site. So we're going to go into the file manager here. It's kind of like FTP, but you can do it all through the browser. And what I'm going to do, actually I've got these old ones here. I'm going to go ahead and delete those because I don't need those right now. If this was your website, if you had files on there, don't just go deleting anything. That was because I knew I didn't need those. I'm just going to start out with a fresh install here. I'm going to go to Upload, choose File. I'm going to go find that on my desktop. Oh, where'd my desktop go? Should be pretty clean now. There we go. WordPress. You got that fresh install right there. I'm going to upload that zip file. And you'll see down here the little progress bar. It says starting to. Once you see that reach the end, you can just close out of this window because it opened a new window here for you. Alright, so I know that's all done because again that progress bar stopped. I can simply close out of that tab. And now if you come back to your file manager, it's not going to show it right away because this tab was open separately to actually upload it. It's not going to automatically just realize that. So what you may want to do is come over to Reload here, and you'll see your zip file down there that you just uploaded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to say extract that zip file. Just leave that right there in the public directory. And it's going to show you all the files that it did. Now for some reason the way WordPress does it, it actually creates a folder within here. First thing I want to do is I'm just going to delete the old zip file. We don't need that anymore. So I'll say delete. And now what I want to do is, because I want this to be my main website, I want this to be right there when people first come to my domain. I don't want this to be in a folder. I'm going to go into the WordPress folder. I'm going to take all these files here, I'm going to move them back to the main directory. Otherwise this would have to open up in a separate folder. So what I can do is simply click on Select All, and I'll say Move File. And you see down here my public HTML /WordPress. That means look into a folder called WordPress. I don't want it to look into that folder, so I'm just going to remove the word WordPress. I'm going to delete, and I'm going to move the files. Now see them all go out of there, and if you go back into over here in your public HTML folder, you'll see all your files are back in the main directory. So I'm going to click on the WordPress folder just because I don't want any kind of empty folders in here that can have some effects later on if people try to hack your website. Just want to kind of get rid of any kind of empty folders. Should be the only one. And I'll say delete. So now I've got all my files in the main directory. Alright, so we're halfway done so far. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just close out of this file manager, and I want to come down to the big scary part where we have to create a database. It's really not that bad, but I definitely suggest that you write down all the usernames and passwords that you have to create here because you will need all that. So wherever it is in your control panel, you'll see the database area, and what you want to use is the MySQL database wizard here. Alright, so it just walks you through the steps, asks you to create an actual database. I'm going to call this one just test 1, 2, 3, keep it real simple here. You do want to write down both parts, the prefix and the part that you come up with here. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to copy that. And I'm just going to use text edit here just so I can keep a simple note. And again, I've got all that stuff in there. As long as I got the green check mark, I'm going to click the next step. Now it's actually asking to create a username. I tend to use the same that I used for the prior step just so I can remember it easier. You're probably better off creating something different, but again, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. I like to use the password generator to create a nice complex password. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm going to save it over here. Get to say yes, I have copied that, and then it'll let you choose that password. It'll fill out the password again. I'll say create user. All right, we're almost done. One more step. This is what kind of privileges that database gets. We just want to say all privileges and choose next. All right, so it tells me everything is done here. Just return home. Get rid of this. All right, so I've got the database created, I've got the files uploaded. Last step is just to go to my website, and WordPress will walk me through the rest of the steps. So I can delete all this information up here up into the .com, get rid of that :2082, and hit return. All right, so this is the WordPress install area. It says to create a config file. All right. Next up, it's going to ask me for all this database information that I just wrote down here. Alright, so the database name, that was the first part. And remember I said I kept the username the same. You may have changed it to something different, but I'm going to go ahead and paste that same one in there. And my password, this is pulling in something from a different website here. So I'm going to hit paste to get my new database password in there. Now database hosts, most of them are just local hosts. That's why it automatically fills that in there. You may want to check with your hosting provider. It may be something different. Chances are they'll let you know. But again, typically it's local host. Table prefix, this is something newer that WordPress is offering. Let you change the table prefix. I do suggest you change this. Just add a couple random letters or numbers in here. That'll help prevent your site from being hacked. This is just for a test site. I'm going to shut this one down as soon as I'm done installing it. So I'm just going to keep it the way it is. But again, you could change this to be something different. I'm going to hit submit. Run the install. So now it's going to set everything up in the database for me. Here's where I set up the actual title of my page. And let's just say test site. Create a username. This is what I use to log into the website. I'm going to say test. And if you're smart, you're going to be writing all this stuff down. Say test. Usually what I'll do is I'll say WP, and then I actually add my username right up there, my password. I'll create this one as test123 for right now. WordPress will actually judge how good your password is. Again, I'm going to shut mine down right away, so I'm not too worried about how strong it is, but it tells you kind of how to create a good password. And then your email, just set up a test at whatever, it's fake. Privacy, if you're setting up your website and you don't plan on it going live right away, or if there's some reason you don't want the search engines to try to index it, you can turn that off. I suggest you keep it on, otherwise you tend to forget about it, but that's up to you. And then simply say install WordPress, and you're all done. So now I can go to my login page. I'm going to type in the username and password that I came up with for this. I'm using LastPass up here, that's why it's trying to fill in this field automatically. Normally it wouldn't do that to you. And I'm going to say login. And there's my WordPress website. I'm going to go ahead and remove this WP admin up here. It's one way to go back and actually look at your website. The other way, again, I get rid of that, is just to go in and click on the test site or visit site up here, and you can go see your website. So there you have it. 3 different ways to install WordPress, all using Control Panel.